So a couple of us had the idea to test out doing short presentations at the beginning of each meeting, talking about something we've been learning or testing over the last month. So what I've been testing out the past couple of months is a concept called nonviolent communication. It's a concept that a friend of mine introduced me to a couple months ago, and it's based on a book by the same name by an author named Marshall Rosenberg. And I even gave it a fancy Ramit style title to my presentation. Only my presentation doesn't cost thousands of dollars or months to get through. So the title is Intro to Nonviolent Communication, a communication framework to dramatically improve your personal and professional relationships. Okay, so what is nonviolent communication? Basically, it's a way to express your feelings and needs and understand other people's feelings and needs in a healthy way. That's pretty much it. But with that statement, there's a lot of nuance to it. So instead of doing this, most of the time, what do? Instead, we play a game called Who's Right? So everyone's familiar with this game in one form or another, and I'm going to run through, the problem with the Who's Right game is it's impossible to win. Your feelings can be unrecognized, your needs can be unmet, but they can't be wrong. They are what they are, and that's kind of it. So, to get more specific, let me run through an example of this. Okay, let's say last month you and your partner sat down and figured out we want to save money, and our biggest variable expense is eating out, as I'm sure a lot of people's largest expense is. And you go, okay, next month we're only going to eat out 6 times instead of 8 times. You go to pick your partner up from work the first day of the month, and they get in the car and they go, I want to go out to eat. And you go, it's the first day of the month. We just decided to save money. And you already want to go out to eat? And they go, but I had a really rough day. You know I'm having trouble with my boss. And you go, yeah, but we still have to save money. Like, fine, we'll just go home and have chicken, I guess. And the rest of the ride home, the two of you look kind of like this, dreaming of that dry chicken waiting for you in the fridge. All right, so it's kind of a silly example, but I'm sure somewhat familiar to a lot of people. And so let's kind of break down what's really going on in this communication. When your partner first says, I want to go out to eat, that's all we know. We don't know why. Did they have a good day? Did they have a bad day? Do they want to celebrate? Do they not want to cook and clean? We don't know. But instead of asking, we react to our own feelings of anxiety, and we say something like, it's the first day of the month, and you already want to go out to eat. You already want to go out to eat. So you're already judging the person's, just their desire to want to go out to eat. And the second you judge them, the second they sense they're being judged, the defensive barriers go up. And you start concocting all the reasons in your head why it's wrong to go out to eat. And they start concocting all the reasons why you never listen and you don't understand why they might want to go out to eat. And then you end up in this silly argument. Well, I really had a bad day at work. You know I'm having trouble with my boss. You know I'm having trouble with my boss. Again, trying to hone in that they're trying to tell you you're not listening to my needs. And of course you confirm that when you say, yeah, I know, but we still have to save money. Again, you're just thinking about your needs. And possibly implying that they don't care about saving money either, which is probably not the case. Okay, so how would nonviolent communication change this? Nonviolent communication breaks down communication into 4 steps, namely observation, feeling, need, and request. So if we went back to the conversation, how could we do it better? Let's say they get in the car and they say, I want to go out to eat. Okay, at this point you've observed they want to go out to eat, and you might be feeling a little anxious, but don't say anything yet. You don't have to. There's no law that says you have to say your feelings immediately. Just go, okay, can you let me know, did you have a rough day at work? Yeah, actually, I've been trying to improve things, and my boss just isn't listening to me. Oh, okay, so now we know a little bit more. And then you go, but we still don't know exactly, why do you have to go out to eat? And be like, okay, so you guess, well, is it because you just want to eat in a relaxing environment and talk about better ways to communicate with your boss? Yeah, exactly. And I don't feel like cooking and cleaning either. Oh, okay. So now we kind of get it. They're stressed out from work. They want to be in a relaxing environment. They don't want to cook and clean. and they want to figure out another way to communicate with their boss. So now you've let them express their feelings and you understand their needs, okay? But now it's your turn to express your own, because your feelings and needs are just as important as theirs. And now that you've listened to them and understood them, they're going to be much more likely to listen to you. So let's start with our feeling of anxiety. It might feel a little awkward, especially when you're first trying nonviolent communication, to lead and say, you know what, I'm actually feeling a little, I understand you need to go out to eat, but I'm feeling a little anxious because we're trying to save money. And then just shut up for a second. Just let them process what you're saying. Okay? Give them a second. If they say something else, listen. But just give them 1 second to process that feeling of yours. And then you could say, you've already expressed your need to save money. Then you can put forth a request, one that hopefully meets both of your needs. You could say, hey, would you mind if we go out tonight, that we cancel a commitment later on in the month? That's one option. You could say, hey, do you mind if we still eat out, but or we still eat at home, but I'll cook and clean, so you don't have to worry about it tonight. That's another option. You know, these are just requests that hopefully meet both of your needs, and you know, taking into account the feelings related to those. There's no guarantee those requests will be made, but the point is to try and increase your chances of meeting in the middle somewhere. And if you don't understand where other people are coming from, you don't even know where the middle is. Okay. So the purpose is not to make communication formulaic. And if you're practicing this, like, it might feel that way a little bit at first, but you're not going to be like, oh wait, no, it's too soon. I can't go to the feeling phase yet. I'm still in the observation phase. But if right now you're having communication breakdowns and you're not getting your point across, or maybe somebody else that you know isn't getting their point across, breaking it down into these 4 steps can help you understand maybe where the breakdown is. Are you not observing? Or do you have their feeling wrong? Do you not understand their need? You know, what is it you need to do? And luckily, almost every interaction you have is a chance to practice this process. So you will get better as long as you try to properly practice this process. So there's a couple other key aspects to nonviolent communication that are important, but I'm only going to talk about really one more. And that's the idea of taking responsibility for your own emotions. If you've ever heard the phrase, you make me feel blank. You make me feel angry, sad, guilty, disappointed, frustrated. These phrases are intended to essentially make you feel what they're feeling. They're feeling something so unpleasant, and they have a need that is so unmet that they want you to feel it so that you'll stop doing what you're doing and rectify it. The problem with this is they're trying to put the cause of their feelings on you, and that's not how it works. Okay? You might be going, well, of course, there's a difference. I mean, but people do say things and they do things that, you know, make me frustrated or mad or sad or angry, or even if it's not saying, just circumstances. Well, of course. And that's because actions and statements are the stimulus for your emotions, just not the cause. The cause of your emotions is your interpretation of that stimulus. And to run through a quick example of that, let's go back to college days. Let's say you had to do like a group project, okay? And you worked on it all semester and you present it to the class, and at the end of the class you're all standing up there and the professor says, you know, you guys had all semester to work on this and I'm pretty disappointed in the presentation. Okay, and then the class ends, and then after class you kind of realize like people are reacting in your group totally differently. One person's like bawling to the professor, like, no, don't give me a bad grade, I've never had anything less than an A, like I have to have an A, blah, 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 blah. Another person's like, you know, flipping the bird to the classroom as he walks out with his backwards cap and is like, whatever, like, I don't even want to take this class. You know, and why is that? You know, maybe those people's feelings are actually somewhat similar, they just have a different reaction. But in any case, you know, they have different feelings, okay? And the question is, you know, why? And that's because they interpreted the situation differently. Maybe one person particularly cares about grades. Maybe one person has a job lined up, so it doesn't matter to them. So, and yet it's the same stimulus. It was the same teacher saying the same thing in the same manner to everybody, but people reacted differently. So, it would be a whole different conversation of how do you interpret negative stimuli in a healthy manner. And I'm not going to go into that. But the point to drive home is just that the cause of your emotions is your interpretation of the stimulus. Okay, a couple last things to tie in. Obviously this ties into a lot of our meets material. The 5 whys technique to try and really understand why you did something or why somebody else did something. And really understand how to push past a barrier. The briefcase technique of getting inside your client's head or your employer's head and really providing something that helps meet their needs and alleviate their feelings of anxiety. And related to that's the straitjacket technique. And really just getting specific. If you hear somebody say something like, "I'm feeling anxious" or whatever, like find out why. What specifically? I have a lot of work to do. What kind of work? Oh, so it's that kind of work. Oh, got it. So you can really delve into these techniques on another level with the nonviolent communication process. So the one thing nonviolent communication is not is a way to manipulate people into giving you what you want. So it might work at first, but people recognize insincere empathy, and eventually they'll catch on that you're basically doing this just to get something out of it, and not as a way to evenly give back and forth. And when that happens, then it's going to be much more difficult to try and implement it honestly in the future. The last thing I want to mention is that you really have to give before you receive, and by that I mean at some point it could work immediately in some situations, but it takes a lot of practice to get good at this because we're so culturally used to immediately reacting that we don't even realize that observation and feeling are actually 2 different phases. And it's hard to break them apart. But once you do, you'll slowly start to see more improvements. And the more you do it, and the better you get at empathizing and understanding other people, then the more often that they'll empathize with you and help you meet your own needs. Okay? It's kind of like getting a raise. Like you can't go into your boss and say like, "I deserve a raise, and after I do, I'm going to work really hard and provide more value." Like it doesn't work like that. You have to provide extra value now, and then say, based on this, I deserve a raise. So that's it. So I'll go ahead and end the presentation here, and we can mill about and do some informal Q&A.